Hello, my loves. It's Knowledge Butterfly. I am back to continue to talk about my subject of my spiritual journey to enlightenment. This particular topic is judgment. And so, of course, I first talked about forgiveness. However, judgment and forgiveness work hand in hand. And so, it is definitely important for me to kind of dig into how, me in particular, how I judge myself and how that ties into being able to forgive myself. So, even though I'm no longer following Christianity, basically I wanted to talk about Matthew, or not talk about, but bring up Matthew chapter 7 verse 2, where it talks about basically that you shouldn't judge someone lest ye be judged, or something like that. And what that basically means to me, first breaking down the fact that it is chapter 7 and verse 2, which equals the number 9, and the number 9 is completion and finality. 360 degrees is a complete circle. It takes 9 months or 270 days in order to carry a child. For most women, not all women go the full cycle. However, that is the normal cycle to carry a child and to birth a child. So basically, like I said, that means finality. And a lot of times when people are judged, we tend to look at that as who that person is. Like, this is the final chapter of this person's life. If someone gets judged, if they go into a court of law for stealing or whatever it may be, people tend to judge you and hold you to that particular crime for your whole life. And in judgment, people who tend to judge is basically because we are judging ourselves. And so, I've been accused in the past of being judgmental. And it makes sense because I have been the worst critic of myself, and judging myself and the way I looked, as far as my hair, my physical size, which a lot of women do, or a lot of people do. And therefore it causes for you to judge other people. And we tend to hold people to a standard that we, in our perspective, we feel people should live up to, or we feel that they're obligated to live up to, and we're not necessarily living up to that standard ourselves. So we judge ourselves, and we have to understand that in this journey, that nothing is perfect. We're not going to follow the certain criteria, and we're not going to meet necessarily all of the goals that we set for ourselves. A lot of times we will say, I'm not perfect, nobody's perfect. However, do we really understand that? Do we really fully know that that is truly what everyone is, and that's imperfection? That is living in flaws and being able to accept your flaws. I watched a movie recently. It's called what is it called? A Wrinkle in Time. It's Oprah Winfrey was one of the stars of the movie, and I think Ava DuVernay, she directed the movie. And the main character was this melanated girl who had mixed parentage. Her father was white, and her mother was not quite sure. I think she was supposed to be a lightly melanated woman. However, she could have been, Hispanic or whatever. Anywho's, the girl was her worst critic, and she judged herself for her. She hated her hair. She hated her looks. And at the end of the movie, she had to accept her flaws in order to save her little brother from this world of darkness, because they try to scare you from the darkness. And finally stop judging herself and being comfortable in what she thought was her flaws. She was able to basically defeat the darkness and bring her little brother back to the real world. And what that movie basically taught was supposed to teach us, in its own way, was to be comfortable in yourself. When you're comfortable in yourself, you stop judging yourself, and then in turn you stop judging others. Because what people do not understand is what is in you, and the things that you do not like about yourself, you tend to put that onto other people, and then you want to hold them to the standard that is unattainable in a lot of times, in a lot of ways, because you put this high pedestal that you feel that everyone, including yourself, mainly yourself, that you feel that you should achieve. That's even in your spiritual journey. A lot of times I have to check myself, because I think, okay, well, December 2016 is when you really started to, get to a point where you began researching ancient knowledge of the ancestors, and begin to look into yourself, and to see that this world wasn't what it was projecting, or what the media and governments and things projected it to be, and melanated people were not who we were projected to be, or shown to be, as this people with no sense of history, with basically no story of creation, basically no lineage, and because a lot of times melanated people are judged based upon our skin color, and people think that we all are a certain way, that plays into how we see ourselves. So the reason why we judge ourselves is because we see ourselves as a certain way, because of our upbringing, the family that we were raised in, the countries that we were raised in. Because if you go to a country like Jamaica, where it's predominantly melanated people, when over 80% of the people look like me, you would feel that you would have more of a sense of pride and love for your skin color. Not necessarily the case, because people are over there bleaching themselves, and truly bleaching themselves to look like, a fairer, what they think is the fairer skin, because even the word fairer makes it seem like it's more in a positive light. So when you stop judging yourself based upon what your nose looks like, if you have full lips, if your hair is kinky, which is that non-ether, the complexion of your skin, your size, and the reason why I say that is because when you are judging yourself, it's because you are doing a comparison. You're saying that, okay, this person over here looks is more attractive because they look in a way that so-called media or what you feel like is most attractive for the opposite sex. However, I become to understand through my journey is that when I stopped judging myself, and when I became more comfortable in myself, I can't tell you how many men have approached me, not necessarily being interested in them, but how many men have approached me and told me that I'm beautiful. And it took me a while to see the beauty in myself, not just something to my eye, not just on a physical level, however, on my spiritual being, and that's loving who I am on the inside. And that all comes from being who you are. When you are truly being and loving your loving yourself for who you are, and who you are is not this physical shell. The love for that is the first thing that you start to feel when you awaken. You start to get this sense of pride for being, a melanated person, and you stop judging yourself for these things that you initially saw as a flaw. However, what comes from that, at least from my experience, what I've gained is a love for who I am on the inside. That is, the not perfect or imperfect, flawed being who's going through this journey to gain a sense of who I've always been. and getting back to who I was before people started to tell me who they saw me as, their perception of me. And when you understand that the way you judge yourself is really based upon other people's perception of who they said you were, then you start to love yourself more. You're not who people said you are. You're not who people coined you as or put you in a box as to being. Again, it's stepping outside of the box and actually is breaking the box for me, and living in the way that we're supposed to live. Life is, more of a spiral. When you look at a flower and the pattern of that, when you look at, a snail, when you look at anything in nature, really, you notice that the pattern that it is not a box. Nothing in nature is a box. So stop judging yourself and putting yourself in a box and saying that we all have to look the same, we all have to act the same, we all have to react the same. You are more than who you think you are. And it's like that Damian Marley song, Julia Gung, where he talks about don't underrate yourself. A lot of people rate themselves as being less than others because of, again, what people have told you or even what you perceive just based upon the subliminal messages that media sends us. So stop judging and condemning yourself. Once you stop judging and condemning yourself, you'll stop judging and condemning others. The living in a system in the matrix where you basically have what they call a good or bad, which there's no such thing as good or bad. When you understand that, you'll stop judging yourself. And that's what I'm still working on within myself, because your parents tell you, they are the first ones to tell you that it's good to do this, it's bad to do that, and they make you, fear certain things. And when you see something that's bad, you fear it. A lot of people fear change because they think it's bad. And I'll get into that as well. That's another part of the spiritual journey to enlightenment, is letting go of the standards of good or bad, letting go of the standards of what's pretty and what's not pretty, letting go of the standards of, what's positive and what's negative. Because when you understand that positive is masculine energy and negative is feminine energy, then you would get the fact that a mosquito bit me, guys. I apologize. A mosquito bit me. I put on a little bit of mosquito repellent everywhere except for my face, and it definitely came to my face because, a mosquito is doing what it's designed to do. But anywho's, just basically what I'm saying, guys, is getting back to understanding who you are, loving your very being, and just being who you are, being what your soul purpose, what you are here on this particular plane to do, because we're all here to do something. And the sooner that you stop judging yourself, the sooner you can get to fulfilling that purpose. I judge myself for letting go of my family and letting go of a job and going to another country and just being free. And that is definitely something we're supposed to be, is free. We're supposed to be free spirits, full joy in this plane, full joy in this experience, and living in the moment, not thinking about how our decisions necessarily impact another person's unless we're intentionally doing something to harm someone. However, you're doing something because you are truly exploring and discovering and basically finding out who you've always been, who you were when you first came into this plane and you were a baby, before people started to tell you were something different. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying that you don't want to do something that you feel is a cage, because you're already in this physical cage, in this, this body. Then you put yourself in a cage when you're staying in a house. You put yourself in a cage when you're in a car. You put yourself in, a cage when you define who you think that you are based upon other people's perceptions and not who you really are. So that's basically what I want to say in this video, guys. Let's stop judging ourselves. Once you stop judging yourself and condemning yourself like the government systems do, and imprisoning people when we're already in these, and I really hate to call it prisons, because really it's all in your perspective of how you look at it, because I actually had stopped calling this body a prison and calling it a prism, because it is basically my light shining through this particular vehicle, not necessarily looking at it as it being my spirit and my soul being in prison. It's just a vehicle for my light to shine through. And as we begin to shed these things that have been put on us by this society, which is, basically judging ourselves, basically not letting go of what we see as mistakes, which I say mistake because, this is a movie script that we're writing. So it's a mistake. So you can basically rewrite it. You can do it over. You know what I'm saying? It may not be, with the same characters. However, it's a do-over. It's the different cycles that you keep repeating. It's another opportunity for you to change and do something different, for you to make this life what you want it to be, not what someone else wanted it to be, not what someone else put on you. Because understand that what judgment that people put on you is a judgment that they were putting on themselves. If somebody said you were too skinny, maybe because they thought they were too fat. If somebody said that you were too dark, maybe it's because they felt like they were too light. You know what I'm saying? It is a lot of times people judge you based upon, things that they're judging them. Actually, every time they're judging you for things that they are putting on themselves. So love yourself. Start with self-love, self-care, and then everything else will follow. If you look at nature is doing what it's naturally supposed to do. We are in these human bodies are the only ones who are doing what other people have put on us to do, or what other people have told us that we are. So let go of other people's perceptions of you. Let go of your own perception of yourself, and then you can truly be free, and you can truly continue your ascension process, which is what we're all here to do: ascend, to grow, to evolve. Because the way this matrix is set up is for us to devolve. So now it's time for us in this age of Aquarius to begin the evolution process again and get back to where we were, and like I said, love ourselves. Then we can love others. I really hope that, this particular message that I delivered, that it helps a lot of people, that it touches your heart and your spirit, which is, what I strive to do. Because as I go through this journey, like I said, these videos, these journals are for me to grow myself. And in turn, I know as I grow, that my light will spread and it will grow others. Don't forget to follow me on my Instagram, Knowledge Butterfly. Follow me on my Facebook as well, Knowledge Butterfly, where I share, videos from my journey and travels in Jamaica. And I also just share other things, positive quotes and affirmations and music that I love, just expressing myself, letting go of fear. And I was watching a movie today called The Wedding Ringer. Kevin Hart starred in it. And it was basically talking about being comfortable and being uncomfortable. That's where I'm working on getting, and that's where I hope you guys are also striving to do. I love you guys. I love my soul tribe family, as I call the people that watch this video. You're my soul tribe family, and we're connected, based on not blood DNA, but based upon a spiritual connection. And that's really what's important. Connecting to someone spiritually and knowing that there's someone going through the same things that you're going through, what people call a struggle, I just call lessons, because this is the school of life. This is a real school. And, you know, just know that there's someone who gets where you're coming from, because I'm going through some of the same things. And we're in it together. However, you're also in this journey solo as well. You just wind up connecting with like souls and like spirits who are striving for the same things that you are, who are on the same vibration and frequency that you are. And like I said, I just want to continue to touch people and want to continue to break out of my comfort zone and make myself uncomfortable in order to ascend and grow in my own self. So I'll go ahead and end the video on that, guys. I love you, and continue to ascend to higher heights, or yeah, higher heights, you know, as the Rastas say. Peace, guys.